Tides will always turn, so be brave, take the step. Be accepting of your feelings, inhale deep and count your breath. Emotions stay fickle, be careful, don't be led. Stay safe with the knowledge, not the thoughts inside your head. Be present in the moment, keep focused. Influence will try to shift your gaze. No magic potion, epiphanies or omens. It's your energy that brings you better days. And count your breath. Present in the moment, keep focused. Influence will try to shift your gaze. No magic potion, epiphanies or omens. It's your energy that brings you better days. When you breathe it in, inflation in your lungs releases smiles held within. Remember, we can re-begin. Then you breathe it out. If you learn to count your breath when you face internal doubts, it's the calm, so just wait. Show your patience at the gate. Learn our love defeats our hate. Count your breath, incremental as we rise. Reveal the truth before your eyes. Tides will always turn, so be brave, take the step. Be accepting of your feelings, inhale deep and count your breath. Emotions stay fickle, be careful, don't be led. Stay safe with the knowledge, not the thoughts inside your head. Be present in the moment, keep focused. Influence will try to shift your gaze. No magic potion, epiphanies or omens. It's your energy that brings you better days. And count your breath.
Yo, what's good, everybody? We're about to get it in with the fam. Cam Hawkins rocking with me. You're going to be talking about a lot of goodness today. A lot of dope stuff in the space. It's our party anniversary! And it's September! It is time to get it in for some Spawn on Me here on Twitch, on X, and on YouTube. Massive love to everybody in the chat for coming through tonight and hanging out with us because we got a fun show tonight. Lots of stuff to dig into and to talk about. Lots of dope games that Cam has seen and I've seen. So we're going to talk about all of that in about 10 seconds. So again, you can be anywhere in the world tonight, and I'm happy you're here with me, rocking here on Spawn on Me. So we're gonna get it in right about now.
Spawn on Me is the premier podcast spotlighting people of color. Every week, we talk news, what we've been playing, and tell you who's invited to the cookout. Our show is all about talking about gaming through a prism of blackness, because we are the culture. Welcome to Chicago, y'all.
Yo, what up, everybody in podcast land and Twitch land and YouTube land and X land? Hope you're all doing well. This is the Spawn on Me podcast with Khalif Adams. I'm your host, Khalif Adams. I've been rocking here and hanging out and making sure the stream is looking sexy for everybody at home. It has been a wonderful day. It has been lovely in lots of ways and not some ways, but it's also great to see all of you at home rocking with us here on Twitch and in all the places that we reside. It is episode 525 of our show. It is also, if you have been a watcher of our show on twitch.tv/spawnonme, it is our partner anniversary. Yo! We have been doing this for way too long. We have been in this spot doing this show for at least, 7 years now, I think, something to that effect, 6 or 7 years on Twitch, making it happen, doing the podcasting thing, and giving you all the goodness that you need from a diversity standpoint in the video game industry. And it is also September. If you are watching the show, if you're watching the VOD, if you're watching any version of the show right now, please, please, please subscribe to the show. You can do it through Amazon Twitch Primes. You can do it through all the regular ways at $5.99 and get you in the door to come and hang out. And it's half off because it's September here on Twitch. So massive love to everybody who's watching. Shout out to everybody who watched last week's show, which was a huge episode where we had Grammy-nominated artist Wale here on the show, hanging out, talking about all the dope games that he loves and his gaming journey in the space. It was so good to finally get a chance to meet the fam and get a chance to have him on the show for a very huge day for us. It was a big day for the show. So it was a great conversation. Please go back and go watch that episode, because I think if you're a fan of Wale's music, if you're a fan of the man, then you get a really good vibe of not only how he's thinking about the space and how he's mixing and matching his hobby with his art, but it was so good to see how just like amazingly down to earth dude was. He was like super cool and chill to hang out with. So go make sure you check out that podcast and all the other episodes that we have on all the feeds. Check us out on Apple Podcasts. Check us out on Spotify for the video versions. And if you are in the mix, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and follow us. And make sure, if you follow us on Apple Podcasts and you follow the show, that's the way you listen to it in audio form. Please make sure the follow button is hit, because if you don't hit the button, you won't hear the show. You won't get the new episodes of the podcast. So we have a really dope episode to be rocking with all of you today. And first off, we have to definitely get into the 411, and we're going to do that with our fam, Cam Final Mix, aka Cameron Hawkins. We're going to get into the 411 and then dig into the news of the day with him. So let's go. Yo, so we got the fam, Cam Hawkins, on the show, making his triumphant return to Chicago, coming through, making sure. Look how beautiful this man is. Look at this. Look at this man's skin is shining. Look at this man. This man got the beautiful smile. This man handsome as hell. Look at this stuff. I'm not cussing. I'm trying not to cuss because we're going to be putting the show on a couple different places where you can't cuss. So I'm going to try not to cuss. But look at this beautiful man. Look at my homie. Look at my homie just shining. Look at beautiful. Look at this man. Cam Hawkins, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Well, I'm not actually. I feel a lot better after the compliments that I'm terrible at receiving. But no, things have been kind of shitty. Lost my job a few weeks ago, so yeah. I'm currently on the job hunt. But I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to talk games with you as always, and we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to dig into this week on the show. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we have to kind of like dig through, talk through, all the things that are happening in the space right now. I think one of the let's get to the biggest story of the week, because I think there were a couple that are in the mix that we're still trying to figure out and get full news on. I wanted to report on the happenings that are going on at Annapurna Interactive, but I want to make sure we have all the layers there, so we may even hold off on that conversation until next week when we get some more clarification on it. But the biggest news of the week this week is all about the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 having its pro version finally in the world and being a thing. What are your thoughts about the PlayStation 5 in the space right now?
I think it is entirely dependent on where you are at when it comes to owning a PS5 in general, right? Yeah. In my opinion, I don't think upgrading to a PS5 Pro is worth it if you already have a PS5. And I'm someone who likes getting the new shiny thing, like technology that's available to me. But I think that $700, yes, it'll be cheaper trading in a PS5 or selling a PS5 to a friend to upgrade to this, in my opinion, isn't really worth the money. And there's multiple factors for that. One, it's a digital only device, which I personally am very much about game preservation. I like owning a lot of my games physically, and knowing that they have kind of shifted to this digital only system, not just with the Pro, but also with the kind of refreshed normal model, where it's like, oh, it's digital only, but you can buy an attachment, I think sets a scary precedent for the future of console gaming, where I would not be shocked if the next generation of consoles, if not definitely the following generation, will be digital only. Discs don't exist at all. And that's personally not what I want. And I don't think it's also great for the sense of giving consumers options as to what they can, where they can buy their games. Because if everything is just on the system, then they have like all control on pricing their games. Like sales probably won't be as common. There's just so many like potentially scary things about a digital only future that that worries me. And on top of that, as well, is that I do think that if you don't have a PS5 yet, just get the Pro. I think it's worth getting it, even if it is like another $100, like technically $300 with the if you're getting the disc drive attachment and the stand. But in my opinion, unless you have the money to just throw around, I don't think it's worth it. And I also don't, I know that there's been this discussion about, oh, it's like if you bought a PC at this with these components, it would be like the same price, which has kind of recently been proven that that is not the case at all. And so even for that, it's just like, no. And on top of everything, I think just like from a more like mainstream, like objective level of things, is that we have not seen a lot of third party, let alone first party games actually taking advantage of the PS5 technology. We've gotten Rift Apart, we've gotten Spider-Man 2. You could argue to a certain extent Final Fantasy 16, and that's really it. Like we haven't seen them using the technology like we kind of expected them to in the beginning of this generation, when they showed off Rift Apart and saying like, oh, this is why we have this this custom made SSD so that we can do things like this in gaming. We haven't really seen that from anyone else outside of Insomniac. And so for me, there's that factor as well.
Yeah, I thank you for that point of view. I think there's a lot of pieces to dig into around the whole entire conversation. Like, yes, I think the sticker shock. Well, actually, let's go back a step because I want to go through the like technology layers of it. And you're right.
Yeah. Spider-Man
1 and 2, Ratchet and Clank, those definitely did take advantage of the faster SSD with the basically no loading times for a lot of the pieces of the game. And if they were minimal at best. Ratchet and Clank with the kind of, jumping through the portals and that not having a load and all that kind of stuff. Makes me want to go back and go play that game, because now I'm thinking about all the technology. I'm like, I need to go back and go check on that stuff. But, I think the biggest thing that we're seeing now, because I think a lot of folks are really stuck on the sticker shock, right? Most folks, if you bought the console day one, you've already spent your $500 to get in the door. I was a person who was on the beginning sides of the getting the consoles early. I was an early adopter for a lot of stuff and knew what I was getting myself into. Then the kind of discless version came out, and then we have the Slims now coming out. So we've had basically 2.5 new SKUs already come out. And now the PS5 Pro, where, you know, I think if you're thinking about the comparison that a lot of people have been making about the PC space versus the console space, the biggest differentiator right now is speed, right? And speed of processing, speed of the GPU, you know, render times and all of those things. Because I think the biggest thing that has not come to fruition, which I think a lot of people have been asking for and a lot of people have been talking about from the beginning of the generation, was 4K 60. 4K 60 was supposed to be the new foundation and new baseline for games of this generation. And although we've seen games play in 4K, stable 60 frames per second just hasn't really been a thing yet. It's been there for a couple of different games, and then most of the games across both systems, PlayStation and Xbox, has not really gotten there. Hence the reason why we have quality mode and performance mode that has been, you know, leveled into all of these games. I would say this. I am actually not as worried about the $700 price. And the reason I say that is, if you think about what the pain point they're trying to resolve is, the pain point is the fact that we're not hitting 4K 60. Now, the weirdness around this is that it's a mid-gen refresh, which is a hard thing to manage in that way. And we all are expecting, at least in the next 2 years, we're in 2024, so probably 2026, maybe early 2027, the PlayStation 6 to be a thing. In between that time, the biggest game on the planet, GTA 6, would have come out, right? And this is supposed to be now the biggest, most technically advanced game that we've seen. Knowing Rockstar's pedigree, this is going to be a game that's going to be doing a lot of things technically that is going to really tax the machines that we currently have. And I do wonder, like, if you're wondering about, is your console going to run it and run it well, and everyone's mad about the Xbox Series S, and everybody's still mad about the parity things that are in that conversation. I think for the high end, you know, uber enthusiast person who's in that space, I don't think this is a bad value in that way. Again, it's all about disposable income. If you have the disposable income, like, you can do whatever you want. But I think most people who are thinking about this in the sticker shock way are like, man, I just bought this thing. Why does it feel obsolete? Right? And I would say it doesn't feel obsolete because you can still play what you want. But I do think that there's a layer there where we're at this precipice of feeling like the games that we're playing are insufficient technically. And I think most people, if you say that to them out loud, they would laugh at you and be like, that's not real. But I absolutely see your take on the kind of preservation layer with the diskless system, you know, going into all digital space, even though I'm a big advocate for it and I totally understand the preservation layers of it. It has been interesting to see how many folks have run out to go get disk drives now for this thing, for the potential of getting it. Yeah. But I think go ahead, Cam.
I actually, and this is actually kind of eye-opening to me too, because like I do feel like people are more on kind of like the digital side of things versus physical, like in the gaming space. Yeah. But I saw like a lot of polls popping up on Twitter after the announcement about the, you know, and the disk drive and things like that, about like, oh, do you actually own physical games? Have you used your disk drive at all on your PS5? Yeah. Yada yada yada. And a large majority said yes, and I was actually kind of surprised by that. I don't know about you, but
super surprised by that.
Yeah, I thought it would be pretty, like, I think it would be like pretty like 60-40, right? But still like towards the digital side. Like it would have been predominantly that. So I was surprised seeing people being like, oh yeah, like, because people that I talk to, you know, they're kind of in the same boat as me where they care about owning their games and having a physical copy just in case. But in general, like when it comes to many people across the industry in general, I was very surprised the results on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because like I now have, because I have multiple PlayStations because I'm doing the work, right? Where I'm like, I need something for capture, I want something for play. That's not a flex. That's a work. That's a tax write-off. Calm down. I see people in chat. Don't worry. But I've had this thing since launch. I've never put a disc in it. I've never put a disc in it, and I'm like, it is amazing that people who do care about that are like so fervent about it. I get it, and it makes a ton of sense. But it makes me think also about like, so what happens now in between that gap space, right? Where we know what's happening, we know what's coming soon. I think adoption won't be that wide because it is so expensive. But the thing that really was telling and really kind of, confounding when they presented this, they brought out the Grand Poobah, Mark Cerny, master of the PlayStation 5 architecture, and was like, Mark, we're going to put you out here to go tell everybody about how dope this was. And we got the weirdest comparisons of graphics that I've seen in a reveal in a very long time. It was like, oh, here's some trees, here's some flags in Ratchet and Clank, and here you go. Like, what was the thing that would have gotten you more excited about the potential for what this could be in a press event like that, in a reveal like that?
I mean, I think in general they should I think the console just should have a disc drive and a stand. Like the stand, like especially the stand not being included is crazy. Hey, pay $30 so you can stand it up vertically, and it's like a big system, even with the slim down version.
Yeah,
it's a big system. So I don't know about you, but like I have mine vertical, personally, and so that's weird to me. But yeah, those like add-ons should have just been a part of the $700 price tag, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I think that they just should have been a lot more transparent on like showing off their best games, where you can really show like, hey, this is like a distinct difference on this game, like, on a normal PS5 versus the Pro Enhanced mode. Like, I heard some people that have gotten to go like hands-on with it or something, that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks notably better on the Pro Enhanced, and I already thought it looked gorgeous. And so I'm just like, okay, like, what does that look like? I want to see what that looks like. I wish you gave more examples on the games that do really show off how beautiful and high res those games can be, and show that like this is worth the upgrade. Because at the end of the day, that's really all this system is just showing that we can get the performance and the graphics to look like go up a notch. And that's so, and I don't think that this presentation, if you want to call it that, did that job.
Yeah, it felt like I've been talking about this on Twitter or X for a couple of days now since they had this discussion, and that was one of the things that I saw that was a little actually a bit perplexing to me, as like I didn't expect them to show games, and here's an alternate version of the argument that they should have shown new stuff in the mix, right? Because everybody was like, man, there's no new games in this reveal, and why wouldn't they do that? That's kind of stupid that they would do that thing. And I was like, that's not what this system again is for. Like, this system as a baseline will play all of that stuff at the highest resolution, and hopefully if they code it properly and code it in the ways that they can, at a frame rate that'll hit 60 and hopefully hit it at a stable 60. So like, the future, I'm already betting that they are going to get that right in terms of the game development that comes across for that stuff. The stuff that is older, that's actually the reason why I would buy this, is because, oh, yes, I want to run all the games that I did play already and potentially want to go back to on quality mode, and whatever that may be. And whatever, if those games get patched, then there is no more quality mode. It's just the new version
It's
of the
just
thing.
4K 60.
It's just 4K 60, right? So like to me, that makes a ton of sense to be able to be like, well, we're not going to show you all the new stuff yet, because we know that stuff is probably going to work. Because you're thinking like whoever were the teams that knew about the PlayStation 5 Pro being in the mix, because developers have to know and get dev kits and all that kind of stuff for those kinds of things. They're already working on that stuff. It's the teams that are go ahead.
I was gonna say, they already announced like how many third-party games that are confirmed to get pro and enhanced modes.
A bunch of them, right? So like my thing is, are the teams that are in that mix of folks, how long is it going to take for those PS5 Pro enhanced versions to come to market or to get patched? That to me is the bigger story, because then you have to think about how long is that going to take? What's the time frame for those things? How many dev resources have to go into the process of doing that? Because then either you have to spin up a new team to make sure that thing is patched properly for a game that you probably put out a long time ago, right? So like, how does that work in those conversations? And to a certain extent, like, what does it mean for the disparity between the games that will get it and the ones that won't? Because that will then be a thing that if you're a fan of that game, I can see this being a thing that would layer out some kind of, I don't want this to be the case, but like, I can totally see fans who are out of pocket screaming at the teams that made a game 2 or 3 years ago that they felt like should get a patch, and being like, y'all devs are lazy because you didn't do this while all these other teams are doing this. I can totally see that being a thing that happens for those teams as well. So I think this is a really interesting space. I think the PC conversation is totally different. And again, like it's a comparison that doesn't make sense. So people who are doing that doesn't make sense. Go ahead, Cam. Look, you want to
I was just agreeing with you. And I do think that it's interesting how with the PS5, well, because you're talking about how the PS5 Pro is like what games, like what companies are going to actually incorporate the PS5 Pro modes when those games come out. And they're probably, the games, it's kind of like when you see it, or it's those, the obviously like the household names, outside of first party, like Capcom, it's definitely going to have Monster Hunter Wilds, 100% is going to have, all those big major third party companies, they're definitely going to do it. But like some of the smaller companies, maybe some again, like companies like Falcom, just because like I'm a big fan of them, I don't expect them to do PS5 Pro enhanced for Trails Through Daybreak that just came out in July. Like, it doesn't even really need it, but it's just like, it's also just like, I don't expect Falcom to put their resources into that. And so for me, like, I obviously care about, to a certain extent, like when you choose a certain art direction, I want that to look good, right? Yeah. But if it comes out and it looks good, there's very few instances where I do wish I'm like, it didn't have, like, you could tell like this console didn't have the power that I wanted it to make it look like the way, just like a little bit cleaner, a little bit clearer. And I do think that like, even back on the PS4, I think like Final Fantasy VII Remake was a really great example of that, where the models really looked great, but then like you just see like this fuzziness just around like certain things, and it's just like, oh, this game would look just like this much cleaner if it just had that boost. Yeah. And it's kind of like, and maybe that is also just like the engine, because I believe it's developed on Unreal, so maybe that's an engine thing. Maybe it's something regarding stuff that doesn't have to do particularly with GPU or processing or anything like that. But those are the rare instances where I'm just like, this is like this close from being like perfect in my eyes from a visual standpoint.
It's interesting too, because now thinking about it, and chat is going wild in chat and saying some really, really smart layers of things that I'm going to try to dig through and add to the conversation. But I think I'm thinking about games that are not that old, that are from third-party studios that I think most people would really be excited to see a PS5 Pro patch go to, and I
Sure.
don't think they're going to get it. So, like, Dragon's Dogma 2 and Elden Ring,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think those games are going to get patched. Like, I think it could be a thing, but I also feel like knowing the development of those kinds of games, see, again, everybody and their mama have been screaming about Bloodborne 2 getting a patch. That shit ain't getting no patch. That's not gonna get a patch. If it didn't get a patch
That's a PS4 game. Like,
but still, like I think the conversation around like what games will get things and what won't, that fits into that mode of like those developers have put out their product and they're done. They're like, there are no plans for DLC. I mean, Elden Ring just came out with their DLC. Dragon's Dogma 2, I don't think it's coming out with anything. If it is, it's not coming out anytime soon. But like those games that are in that mix, that are the ones that need it the most, probably won't get anything anytime soon. So then if you're Sony and you're like, hey, we are trying to figure out a way to get you to come in to the fold, I wonder if that gets subsidized by Sony in some form or fashion for them to pay the dev teams to do it, which I doubt, especially because the ones who aren't first party. And then what does that mean for your experiences across all that stuff? Last point that I did want to add, which I think is really important, and I think people keep missing in this larger conversation, and I would love to hear your take on it, because I know you play both on PC and on console. One of the things that I was saying, and that I think people continuously miss when you have these larger conversations about hardware, is people forget about convenience. Like, people forget about why consoles are consoles and why PCs are PCs. I love my PC rigs. My PC rigs are dope. They're like fully laid out, fully spec'd out, like top end of the line stuff. I play most of the stuff that I play on console because it's a factor of convenience. Yep. I don't have to think about drivers. I don't have to think about setting the machine up. I don't know if it freaks out and crashes, I'd probably know what happened in that conversation. How much do you think that the layer of convenience versus, modularity, which is what you get in the PC space, is a big factor on why people may go out and buy this thing as opposed to going and buying a PC?
Again, like I think that this kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Like, I think that if you for some reason don't have a PS5 yet, I think people are going to buy the Pro. They're going to just be like, why not just do it? Because the PS5 is already like a lot for a console. Like, it's a lot of money just in general. And so I think that people that have consoles for a reason. They I don't play games on PC unless I have to. It's just not how I want to play my games. And so for me, I would love a PS5 Pro, but I'm also not willing to shell out probably more or so another $500.
Right.
If it, when you assuming I would like trade it in somewhere to get credit and then go towards a Pro. But like, of course I want one. I think everyone that sees a PS5 Pro, like, oh yeah, I want one of those. Yeah. But am I willing to pay this much? Probably not. Probably not if you already have a PS5. And again, similar to you, I like getting the new thing. I like getting the new tech. I like seeing how those things evolve. Like, I wanted to get the new Galaxy Xbox Series X for no reason outside of like, oh, it's a pretty box and it's got an extra terabyte of storage. But I'm just like, I got to be real with myself, especially because I don't have a job anymore. But like, I got to be real with myself and be like, I am literally just wasting $500 if I were to do that.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I'm at with the PS5 Pro. Like, even if I had like my past job or like the amount of income that I had at that time, I still probably would not have like shelled out or going to shell out for a PS5 Pro, because it's just, they haven't shown a reason for me to really care about this upgrade, because I do think that like with the PS4 to the PS4 Pro, I thought that was a notable difference. Like that was like a big step, like a significant step up at being a mid-console refresh. Where because I didn't really have a PS4 until the Pro came out. That's when I ended up finally getting a PS4 for the first time. And I got it with the Pro because I'm like, oh, this is a big step up. Like I think it was like God of War was like around that year. It came out and a bunch of things like that. But with this one, it's just like, it's just kind of a reminder. And I was talking about this with some buddies of mine, and Ken Shepard over at Kotaku wrote something about it, is that it's just like a reminder how like the PS5 generation from a first party standpoint hasn't really done a lot in the past 4 or 5 years. Yep. And so when you're saying like, hey, here's this new box that's $700 and you don't really have anything to show for it from both like past and present and future, you know, I'm not gonna throw down that money at you. Because you even look at like their other devices, right? Or specifically like the PSVR 2, right? PSVR 2, they were marketing it, they were really pushing for it. At least it felt like to me. And then that device came out, and they were just silent. They have not really talked about it as a device for so long.
Mine is right there.
We know it hasn't sold super well. And despite it being on paper, a great device, this feels kind of the same. It feels kind of the same. And I just finally shelled out for the PlayStation Portal.
Oh, nice.
Which is something that I was like not really wanting to do for a while, but I had enough people to kind of show me like, oh, this is actually kind of worth the investments. I'm still very early with playing it because right now I'm primarily playing Persona 3 on my Xbox.
Sure.
But like this is cool. Like I do like it, and I do see myself putting a lot of time on this. Because I have been, that's like the one thing I guess I will kind of give the PS5, this kind of backhanded compliment, is that the PS5 is backwards compatible, and there's still like a lot of PS4 games, especially because I'm big into JRPGs, and not a lot of JRPGs are on Xbox, that I have been needing to get to, and this bad boy is what I'm going to be playing them on, because it's a great system for games like that. So yeah, I will definitely like bring more thoughts to the Portal once I've used it more. But so far, like I think it's pretty cool.
I mean, talking really quickly about the Portal before you move on, like I love that thing. Like it was a thing at first where I was like, who is this for? Does this actually make any sense? Like, why is this a thing in the market? Like, I don't really get it. And now I take it with me on every trip. Like, I'm playing in the hotel right before bed. Like
it's really cool.
It works. I'm like, go ahead.
It's kind of weird. The only thing that's kind of weird about it is that you have to have like your PS5 in rest mode and like things like that to be able to use it while you're traveling. So like if you have a power outage, right? So like even if it's like a short power outage, that PS5 is off.
Yep.
You can no longer use your Portal while you're traveling.
Yeah.
But like that's such a specific scenario, right? And just in general, if you're connected to Wi-Fi, you can turn on your PS5 and you can play. And like through my personal experience, I have seen it run very well.
Yeah.
But I have also heard from people that it is rough, and so we'll see once I dig into it more. I definitely can feel the delay. I can definitely feel the delay a bit when I play it. But again, if you're playing certain games where you don't really have to worry about that, it's a great system. It's a great thing.
It's been an interesting thing in terms of my usage, because especially with a lot of review copy coming in, and you're at an event covering a game, and then you're like, oh man, I have these 2 games I need to play, and I can't play it because I'm not home. It has been a savior for me in terms of trying to get in some gaming sessions while trying to review games that I'm having for Spawn on Me. So it's been real nice to have that. And so far, you know, out of many of the places that I've been to, because most of the places I travel for gaming related, you know, coverage is on the West Coast, and I live on the West Coast. So I'm in Oregon, and most of the places that I'm playing are either in an LA or San Francisco. And on hotel Wi-Fi, it has been pretty solid still, which is, again, I'm thousands of miles away from my actual physical PS5 and still getting a chance to play games on my system. It has actually changed my buying habits for games that I know I will be wanting to play while I'm on the road. So like beat them, but you play, you know, you pick games that you know are going to run well on lag, right? On latency.
Yeah.
So like a couple of games like Star Wars, I was playing that on the road, on my portal, knowing that yes, there's going to be parts that are going to be finicky, and the sticks on the portal are a little bit different than DualSense, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah, it is.
But like, it is a fantastic device. Like, if there's anything that Sony has really nailed this generation, it has been that. Like that. I mean, the PlayStation 5 I think is still a really great machine, but like the PlayStation Portal has been really, really good in that sense. So, any last thoughts about the PlayStation 5 news and all that goodness?
No, not right now. I'm just I hope that they show more to kind of convince like, hey, this is actually worth the investment, because I'm not in the headspace where like I will never buy this thing.
Yeah.
But I'm currently not sold, and I need to be sold, and I want to be sold, but they have not done that yet.
Okay, word. I'm excited to see it. I'm hoping, you know, folks who watch the show on the Sony side send us both PlayStation 5 Pros. That would be great. You know, you have both of our addresses, so you know where to send it.
Please,
send it to the squad.
Please send us the PS5 Pro. I would love that.
That would be fantastic. All right, we're gonna jump into what we've been playing. We're gonna hear some games that Cam and I have been checking out right about now. So, Cam, I know you have been playing a ton of dope stuff and have gotten hands-on with a bunch of things. Yes. Run down the list of stuff, and the floor is going to be yours for basically the next 30 minutes or so.
Oh, my gosh.
For as much as you want to talk. Because I have like two games that I want to talk about, but like I know you have a ton of stuff that you want to dig into. So whatever one you want to do, let's go for it.
If you have any questions, you know, please 1,000%. Throw them out at me, because I'm excited to talk about all of these. So first one I'll talk about is Super Mario Party Jamboree. This is the newest Mario Party. I think this is the third one that has hit the Switch in the console's lifetime. And I genuinely think this might be the best Mario Party game that's ever come out. I was very impressed. I had a lot of fun with everything that I experienced during I think I played for about an hour.
Oh wow!
Of playtime, and I really, really enjoyed my time with it. So basically, they started us off, kind of giving us the 411 on like what the new things from Super Mario Party Jamboree are. I believe there are like 7 maps. 5 of them are new. 2 of them are returning maps. 110 mini games across, I believe, all of
what?
the 110 mini games across like all of the different modes in the game. And so that was and that's the most that the series has ever had. And then they added Pauline and Ninji as like the newest characters to the roster. So we started off playing some general Mario Party. We only played like I think 2 like rounds, like of just like us hitting the dice and like playing a mini game and stuff. I was winning when it was over, just on record. I won all the mini games during that specific mode. I was killing it. And then they showed us, which I think was the most fun thing that during the entire playtime, was this new mode that they're doing called Kooplathon or Koopathon.
What'd you call me?
Yeah, it's like exactly. It's like Koopathon, I think is what it's called. And
I had that once. It hurt a lot.
It's an online 20-player mode where it's just, it's a board, and you're randomly selected 3 mini games, and all the mini games the objective is just about collecting coins. And so you'll do these 3 mini games, and then you'll do a Bowser thing where like Bowser tries to like kind of knock you back.
Okay.
And I just want it on record as well that I would have won. But the first mini game, the first 2 rounds, I played the first mini game because it's the same mini game every time.
Oh, okay.
Yes, like for a game. So
Okay.
when they select the 3 mini games for that game, it is the same mini game in a row, the same 3, and then it gets harder as the game progresses.
Oh.
So the first two waves where I was playing the first mini game, you're just in this cannon, and and you have to shoot yourself at coins to collect them. I got my ass whooped, and I'm like, what happened? Like everyone was in 1, 2, because it was me and 3 other people. They were in the top 3, and I was in 20th place, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? So after this. So after the second time, I was just like, okay, I have to ask, what am I doing wrong here? And they say like, oh, you have to collect all the coins to get more coins. Because I thought you were like kind of trying to shoot yourself upwards,
right?
And that was not it. And so I was so confused. And by the time the whole game was over, I was in second place. I would have crushed them if I knew that first mini game. Anyway. So it's really, really fun. You collect these coins, and then you just run around the map. Each coin you collect is a step, and then you have to go around the map, I believe, 5 times to win. So it's kind of like a race, and it's really, really fun. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time with that a lot. It kind of felt like Mario Party's like Tetris 99 or Pac-Man 99 type vibes.
Ooh, that's a great description for this. I love that.
It very much kind of felt like a testing run to potentially do something even bigger in the future. But that's just speculation. That's just me thinking how my brain works. So that was fun. And then I also played oh man, it was Bowser Kaboom Squad. That's what I think that's what it's called. Bowser Kaboom Squad. This is a cooperative mode where you play with 8 people cooperatively, and you are basically trying to load these bombs into this cannon to shoot at Bowser. And then you do like these mini games, and then depending on how well you do, you get coins or like, currency to buy an item for the next round. So you can get an item that lets you carry more bombs. It allows you to like place dash tiles so you can run like your teammates can run faster. There's all these different kind of equipment that you can buy for yourself that could either help just you or it could help the entire team. And it's just kind of like, kill Bowser, beat Bowser. Very fun too. Like all of the games I played through that were very, very fun. Shout out to Nintendo for squeezing me in, because initially I didn't know it was there because this is at PAX West. Yeah, and I saw the sign. I saw the Nintendo sign. I'm like, I need to email someone, and so I emailed Thierry over at Golan. Shout out to you. Shout out to Thierry. And he was like, yo, I can get you in at this time. And I'm like, bet, I'll do it. I can do like outside of like 2 hours of that entire trip, I was free I could have made it work. I would have been like, all right, let's do it. So shout out to Nintendo, because I know that y'all are, y'all want to pick the right people. And I'm very thankful that y'all gave us an opportunity to check that out.
That's great. I mean, I love hearing stuff like that. Cause again, like, Nintendo is very, very selective about like who they let into stuff. And Thierry and the rest of that crew have been fantastic working with us for many, many years. What was it felt like anyone and everyone who I saw who took that demo raved about it and was like super, super excited for it. Yeah. Does this, I mean, I can see the excitement that you have now, but like, do you feel like this is new enough in the ways that they're doing stuff? Because I think one of the potential knocks on Nintendo is that they are using a lot of the same formulas over and over again, right? how do you kind of do all those things in those ways? But it feels like this feels very, very new in that way.
So admittedly, I didn't play a whole lot of Super Mario Party or Superstars. At least I didn't really dig into the systems, like if there were like a bunch of different modes. So I'm not really sure if that if this kind of thing was always how it's always been on the Switch. But I really liked my time with it. Like there's like the Mario Party is more Mario Party, it really is. But it really was the other modes that kind of gave that variety in a sense, right? Where like, because Mario Party games can be long, even
Yes.
when you decide them to be short, they can be long. And so it's just like, hey, here are these like smaller modes that bring the same kind of energy that you get from a Mario Party, around a Mario Party. And so I really, really enjoyed my time with it. To the point where, like, again, with the Koopathon mode,
every time you say that, it just makes them like, what?
I know.
What you got? A Koopa who?
At the end of our playtime, they asked us like, "Hey, what's your favorite thing that you played today?" And all of us said Koopathon. Yeah, like all of us really like that mode, and I think that is the mode that's gonna really, kind of surprise people and be like, "Oh, like," and I do think they're gonna be like, "Oh, this does feel like a Tetris 99, a Pac-Man 99, that kind of vibe." Like, yes, people don't get like eliminated over time, but the same kind of vibe is still there. Because like the map is like on the right side of the screen, and then the mini game covers up like the other like 3/4.
Oh,
so as the game is going, you can see your characters like move, if I remember correctly, but I'm pretty sure you can, because why would they show it otherwise?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's really cool. It's really cool, and I think that people will really like it. Like, this is definitely my favorite Mario Party since Mario Party 8 on the Wii, where you could like you had like these hotels, and it was like really, really cool concept. I really wish they brought that back specifically. But yeah, it's been a long time since like I've played a Mario Party that wasn't just like, yeah, this is more Mario Party, or at best. So I'm excited about Jamboree.
Before we head to the next game that you got a chance to check out at PAX, I got to give a mad big shout out to the fam Jay Bari up in the chat, who's watching us on YouTube and sent us a $10 super chat. Massive love to you. And he says, PS5 Pro day one, does that make me a bad person? No,
absolutely not.
Does not make you a bad person at all. I will see you there probably day one too, because I probably will find a way to get it. Also, please make sure you check out Jay Bari's podcast. He hosts it, What's Up PlayStation. Make sure you go check out that show, hosting it with the fan Persona Speaks. On YouTube and in all the places that you get your podcasts. Go check out the show, because it's very, very good. One of the best PlayStation podcasts on the planet. So make sure you go support the fam there. Cam, what's the next game that you kind of want to dig into and share some info on?
Yeah, so the next one I want to talk about is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was probably it was a big surprise. It was a big surprise because I didn't play the first one. I knew that there was a like a cult classic, right? Like people really, there was definitely like a group of people online, like the people that like played that game really loved that game. And I think the thing that was so interesting about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is that they kind of pitched it as like, this is the game that we wanted the original to be, but just didn't have the ability to do so. And the sense of just immersion and RPG elements was really impressive. I was really surprised, because so my demo specifically was, you meet this guy who is this German sword master, and he challenges you to fight, right? And then a cop comes, more or less, and is like, hey, you can't fight here. You're banned from the city. Like, you have to pay a fine, things like that. And from there is where like the branches begin, where you can convince him that that it was a justified fight, or it was something that you can like basically talk your way out of, and you at the very least just pay a fine, but you don't have to get him banned from the city. But if he does get banned from the city, there are multiple steps that are added to this, and this is a side quest, by the way. There are multiple steps that are added to get to where I continued off from just convincing them not to ban him and paid the fine, which I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. We didn't get to see that in action, but like just like being told that like, oh, if you fail to do this one thing, it makes this whole quest line this much longer, which I thought was very, very, very cool. And then so basically he wants you to go to this this building, steal a sword, and then put it on top of another building to challenge this guy to a fight. But he doesn't want anyone killed, and he doesn't want you to be seen. So it's a stealth mission. And so it's really cool, like how you're able to go about all those things. But my main issue with the demo itself was that it didn't let you like they were very much kind of like beelining you on like, hey, we need you to approach this like this, that, and the other. And they didn't really allow you to do the freedom that they were kind of promoting going into the demo. Like, oh, there's all these things that you can do, but for this demo, we need you to do exactly this.
Yeah.
So I'm very intrigued. I very much am interested in playing this game when it comes out. I believe it comes out in February.
Yeah.
This is a game that I was just like, I completely kind of like hand waved that I'm now like, I want to play this game. I want to see what things this game is doing as an RPG when it comes to like these decision making aspects. I really enjoyed.
I mean, games like this too are I feel like the folks who like 4D games and games that are kind of more RTS-esque in those ways, this feels like one of those games that really digs into the minutia of that, which is interesting because I feel like games like this and also games like that are 4D games as well, like top-down RPGs, all those kinds of things, RTSs. It feels like they're having a resurgence in an interesting way. It feels like there's a lot of games right now coming out, and especially weirdly on console, that we're having a lot of those games kind of come out in some of those spaces. Does this feel like, because I know this does have a big cult following for what people love of this game. Does this feel like a genre now, looking at how much fun you had and how invested you were, that you'd want to spend more time in this kind of genre?
I'm definitely like, I really love, it's interesting. I really love just concrete, like as told storytelling. That's just like a very high quality in RPGs, which you get in a lot of JRPGs. But I also love just making choices and like all these choices affect this, that, and the other, which we mainly get from like BioWare and more recently Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think that this is like, I mean, this is definitely something that interests me from that aspect. I just think that the kind of presentation and the way that they're executing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 as a game is a bit different than those kind of games that I gave examples of earlier do. And I think that this is the game. I think this game is going to surprise a lot of people if it succeeds in what it's trying to do and what they like, what the potential that I saw. I think this is going to be potentially a low key Game of the Year candidate for 2025.
Oh wow!
Like,
you heard it here first.
It has the potential for just from the RPG aspects of it. It's just very intriguing, impressive. And again, just has a lot of potential from the little that I saw of it. Because another really cool thing that I didn't mention too is that if you get caught during that trying to steal the sword and put it up, the next day, the person that the dude is trying to challenge, they'll know that you tried to cheat. And then the guy will have armor on. He gets like a leniency because they know that you tried to cheat. And so it makes the fight harder. And it's just like, that's the stuff that I think is like, that's really cool. There's so many different things that can happen that will lead to like this, that, and the other.
That's cool. I like stuff like that. When you have like actual consequences to stuff that you're doing in gameplay, like that means a ton to me for sure. Let me know about your time with Fantasian, because I heard that was really dope.
Yeah. So Fantasian, for those that don't know, that was a Apple Arcade exclusive for the longest time. It's still arguably probably the main reason up before this was announced to subscribe to Apple Arcade. And I'm not even just saying that as a JRPG guy. I'm just saying that just from word of mouth and what people have said that are in the mobile space. But this is from, the godfather of Final Fantasy, Sakaguchi, and Mistwalker, who has made plenty of games in the past. Last Story on the Wii, Lost Odyssey on Xbox 360. They've made plenty of games. And this is, so this is Fantasian. This actually initially released in 2 parts on mobile, but this is going to have like the entire game in it. And yeah, it's a mobile game, and it really feels like a mobile game when you're playing it. The camera is a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a mess. I played this on PS5. They had the option to play it on Switch, and honestly, part of me kind of wishes I tried that on Switch as well. And the thing that's really cool about it is that like all these environments are like handcrafted dioramas.
Interesting.
That they just, and they made the game on top of it, which is really, really cool. The combat is really cool. It has like this line system where you can kind of arc your spells and your abilities, depending on the spell, of course. Some are like single target, some are AoE, but then there's these like line abilities that are really, really cool and allow for a lot of variety and creative approach to combat. And there's also this dimension system. It's like dimension dungeon system where they try to, it's an attempt to make random encounters less common, happen less often.
Yeah. And
so every time, after like every amount of steps that you take and stuff, you a random like thing will like kind of pop into the like top left hand of the screen where the dimension is, and once you hit 30, you have to like fight them all at once. And normally they're like weaker enemies because you got them earlier on, but it's still like it's a lengthy fight, and it doesn't kind of remedy the whole thing that I feel like that they were trying to do with making the random encounters less frequent, because you're now doing like a 5+ minute battle where you're fighting 30 enemies. And so for me, I like don't think they really succeeded there, but the combat's really cool. Control wise, again, it's a little rough because the camera, it's a mobile game. When the camera shifts when you're moving, you have to reset your thumbstick.
Wait, what?
Because if not, it'll move the wrong way.
Oh,
yeah, it's very weird, but it's a cool game. It's just, you can very much tell that it is a mobile game that's being ported onto a non-mobile platform. So I'm still really excited to play it. I've heard very good things about it. I think it was RPG Site's Game of the Year it came out. Like, it's supposed to be a very, very good game.
I mean, it looks really cool. Like I as a person who is still trying to get his, turn-based RPG legs under him, as a person who really doesn't like random encounters in those kinds of games, I kind of do like the system that you described.
Okay,
I think that sounds really interesting in that way. And I always like when you mix in, real life, backgrounds or settings for things, and then play in those real life spaces with digital characters. Like, I was looking at the art in the diorama stuff that you talked about. That's cool. Like, stuff like that I love. Like the Halibut game that came out this year that had the stop motion animation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love games like that where you can do cool stuff in those ways. It is really cool to be able to see, that kind of change in a space like that. So that's dope. I love stuff like that. Let me know about what was the romance game that you talked about? There was
Romancing Saga 2.
Yeah.
So this is a remake of an old game, where the concept is, because I've never played like a Saga game before. But I know that Romancing Saga 2 is like 2 and 3 are like considered very highly regarded in the JRPG space. And the concept of this game is super interesting, because I knew going into the game, my playtime, that Saga is a lot more choice based than like JRPG, you expect from JRPGs. You make a lot of choices, it changes the story, it changes paths, what you more get from Western RPGs. And the concept of this game is that there are these seven heroes is what they're called, but they're actually villains. And you are the emperor of this kingdom, and you're trying to defeat these heroes. But you can't do it in one lifetime. So you basically play as a normal JRPG, and at some point in the story, you die. And then your stuff, like your abilities, all of that is passed down to your heir. And then you have to, and then you play as the heir moving forward. And so it's a really interesting concept. I'm very curious as to like how that's going to affect like your party members. Like, are your party members going to also be the kin of your previous party members, or how is that going to work? But just that concept of the story is very fascinating to me, and feels very like refreshing, even though this is a remake of an old game, which makes me like curious about the series as a whole. And the combat is also really cool. It's turn based. It's your kind of traditional JRPG, but you have these abilities that you can see on the kind of bottom left hand here, and they'll have these light bulbs. And so if you use them long enough times, you will learn a new ability and use that ability instead. And then you forever have that new ability. And so it like encourages you to try different things in combat than your go-to attacks, to learn more things. So it's really, really cool. I really like it. There's also like a battle formation system, but it's not like super customizable. It's more like you learn different formations, it seems like, and then you can kind of select in the menus which one you want to have your party members in, and then you can designate where they're going to be. So you want the big shield guy to be in the front, and then you can have like your healer in the back, like that type of thing. But that was like, I did see Dragon Quest 3D HD 2D, like the Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D, but it was like we've already covered that game before. It's more Dragon Quest goodness. Like, that was my favorite thing I saw like during all of PAX West, even though it's something I've already seen. Yeah. But like, when it comes to new stuff, this is what I'm most excited for. It comes out in October. I'm super excited about it. I want to once I'm done with Metaphor, because that's going to take up my life, that is like the next thing I'm going to play. I'm super excited to check that out.
I in a weird way, I don't know why this came into my head, thinking about the kind of heir system and the kind of passing down your skills to your kin. It's like, yo, my dad left to go get cigarettes and never came back, and then I woke up one day and I had all his powers. It's like, yo, I know how to do taxes now. That's kind of great. I like that as a concept. I like the fact that you can like play into the kind of lineage layer of it. It makes me think of, what was that? Was it Shovel Knight, or was it the other one? There's another game where like
Rogue Legacy.
Rogue Legacy. And kind of right, of like having the things that are in there that kind of pull along with you. I know the other game that you got a chance to check out was Life is Strange, right?
Yeah, so I got to check out Life is Strange Double Exposure. I've played every Life is Strange game outside of True Colors.
Yeah.
For no reason outside of I just haven't taken the time to do so.
Yeah.
I love Life is Strange. And Double Exposure was interesting. I think that when it comes to the puzzles and the way that they're like telling the stories and stuff is really cool. So you're playing as Max again from the first game, and this is I think like 2 or 3 years after the events of the first game. So she's in college now, and so we kind of like get confirmation that at the end of the first game, she still has her powers. She can still reverse time. She just chooses not to. She's like hasn't really been using her powers until an event happens with her best friend at the time, not Chloe, different person, dies, and then her power like evolves to the point where she can now shift timelines. She can now like go from one timeline where she is alive and one timeline and then like her timeline where she's actually dead. And she's basically trying to find out who did it. And so a lot of my play demo is what we're seeing right here, where she's talking with her friend who is currently being investigated by a cop, and he has the victim's camera, which is like a piece of evidence. And so it's like, it's going to be very damning if he gets caught with that. So Max tries to use her powers to infiltrate inside of his office to find the camera and take it before the cop can get inside. And the way that they like implemented all the puzzles inside that one room, I thought was really well done. I definitely think it was more engaging and more thoughtful than the first game, where you're just kind of reversing time and then like trying to interact with something before like someone notices it. It just feels a little bit more inspired, I guess. And so I really enjoyed my gameplay time with this game. My main issue is that this character Max doesn't feel like Max in this game. Like she feels like a different character to a certain degree. I don't want to say like fundamentally, but she like her personality, her whole vibe is a little bit more like upbeat, and it's just a little bit more upbeat than how it was in the first game. In the first game, she was a little bit more moot, like very like kind of, I don't want to say monotone, but she was just very like chill. And I think that she just like the way that she interacts with characters and the way she interacts with people, it feels very different from the first game. And even her voice sounded different. And I did later find out that it is the same voice actress. So I thought it was like a different, like a voice actress. I thought they just like changed up a bunch of things, but no, this is all basically the same. And this is from Deck 9. This isn't, I forgot the original studio's name off the top of my head. It's not the original studio making it. So there's different writers, of course. So there's multiple factors that can go into these kind of things. But that was like the thing I walked away most with, was that the like her characterization in the gameplay that I experienced was it felt off to me. Yeah. I'm still like excited to play the game. Who knows? There might be a reason for it, but part of it just was like, oh, this doesn't really feel like Max.
Yeah. And also shout out to Austin Walker for making an appearance in the game. In Life is Strange, because I was like, that looks like Austin Walker. Shout out to the fan, Austin Walker. I think the thing that I come away with this is like, even because as a person who has skipped a bunch of the games, like I played probably the first two and then haven't played anything since. It looks like there's a big visual upgrade on this game too. Like this game looks really pretty. Like the characters look really cool, like stylized in a way that I didn't see before. And it feels like that's very, very different. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, like they didn't really specify what engine they were running their games on or anything like that, but it did look really good. Visually, it was a big upgrade. I definitely think that in the first two games, at the very least, there was definitely a certain sense of art direction that I think that this game isn't trying to do. Is trying to do something different. It's not that it's worse or bad. It's just different.
Yeah.
And so that was, that looks good. It looks good. It's definitely the best looking Life is Strange game, especially even from True Colors. It feels like a significant jump up in double exposure. And the other thing that I want to mention, and this is like definitely a me thing, but I think that I guess like the biggest thing that I have on my mind still, which I think many people had on their mind, is just like, why are we returning to Max? Why are we, because the way that the game ends, the first game, it ends in a way where it's just like, we should not return to these characters.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that the series as a whole has done a really great job at feeling like an anthology series, where it's just like you're introduced to these characters, something crazy happens, and they have powers, and there's a specific scenario that they have to deal with, and then it's kind of like a jump in, jump out anthology type experience. And so now returning to Max, especially with how the first game ends, regardless of of what you choose, how are they going to handle that? We still don't really have the answers for that, and that's what I'm very curious about. Because before this was announced, I interviewed the director of Life is Strange 1 and 2, Michael Coach, I believe is his name, and he basically was saying that there's no like true ending. There's no canonical ending. It's like really whatever you choose it to be. But now that like this is a thing, how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to go
reconcile
like,
those things?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. I mean, that makes me excited to check it out, because I think like, since I've missed stuff, I guess that's the other question too, is like hearing you talk about it as an anthology. And Zhang Pao in the chat says, if you want more information on the Life is Strange games, go check out the coverage that What's Good Games has done over the past couple of years. But as a person who is a lapsed gamer in this in this series, does it feel like me as a person who hasn't played it for a while could come in and I don't need all the pieces of the backstory to really kind of pull things together? Or does it feel like I really need to have played all of those other games to really kind of like ingest this in a real way?
Oh, I mean, like the first game, even with the first game, like you'd want to know some stuff, but I wouldn't say you have to play the first game to play Double Exposure. But also, again, I don't really know how they're going to handle the ending of that game, because like, you know, she has a new best friend in this game, and like the whole big part of the first game was like focused around her best friend at that time, and you make a decision regarding her best friend at the end of the game, and that is like a really big factor, like as to like, again, how are they going to navigate that going into this game? So like it's one of those things where I think that you can watch a recap of just Life is Strange 1 and then just hop into Double Exposure. I don't think you're like missing like a huge thing going into this one. So
she was like, I'm anti no new friends. She's like, I want all the new friends. All my old friends are gone. I'm out. I'm taking all my new friends with me. Okay, good. I'm excited. Like the stuff that you got a chance to check out at PAX, man, thank you for sharing all of that info, because I think there's a lot of good stuff in there for folks who are looking for a bunch of variety of really good games. And thank you to all the folks who we worked with at PAX on the PR side and the marketing side to help us get coverage for the show this year. It's a lot of great stuff that we both got a chance to check out. And I got two games before we get up out of here that I wanted to talk about real fast that I thought was really, really good. There was a game called Lose Lagoon, which was this very, very like super chill vibes game where you're this character who is on this island, and you are basically kind of like walking through the process of finding some of your friends who were on that island who were lost. And it's a game that is like extremely chill. It felt like, you know, a Saturday afternoon in the park, just hanging out and hanging with your peoples and chilling out and having fun. You know, traversing the islands that you got a chance to go check out, where it was super good. I love the art style on this game. Like, I think it really did pull away. Go ahead, Ken.
I was just gonna say, like, I really love the color palette and the art style that they're doing here.
Yeah, like it just evokes a lot of fun. And just like, you don't have to worry about failure and figuring out ways to, you know, really, you know, pull together a story here that is going to be a lot of, you know, fun for you to kind of just dig into and play around in. The characters are really, really sweet. You know, I like the kind of your grandpa, your uncle, that you're working with on the island. He's giving you some tasks to kind of go find out and go look around for. It's like, help me rebuild my plane, to be able to come help me do that. And the way you, when I was talking to the dev team, one of the things that I talked to them about was, you know, there are small things as a developer that you try to pull into a game for the development that you're like, I want these feelings to kind of come through the gameplay, but I also want there to be this feeling of satisfaction when you're doing things. So you have this device where you're basically sucking up and kind of breaking apart all of these items on the island, and it's giving you a lot of resources to be able to use in other places. So like, you know, the character right now, if you're watching the video version, is sucking up, you know, these rocks and these buildings and these planks, and he's kind of helping to build and rebuild parts of the world with these pieces that you're finding all around the world, and finding, you know, different places to traverse and going and talking to different characters and learning about what their story is and why that they are, you know, either trapped on the island or trying to get off the island or hanging out and all this kind of stuff. And the game was super fun. It was like really, really chill vibes in the best way. Like if you're looking for a kind of go to bed game that feels a little bit like, you know, a grounded version of No Man's Sky. It has a little bit of those kind of traversal vibes of going around the world and finding stuff and kind of making your own adventure. That game is super good. So Luz Lagoon, I don't have a date for it yet, but I think it's going to be coming out hopefully fairly soon. It was really, really cool. I had a blast with it.
This feels like it kind of reminds me of a Animal Crossing cross like Luigi's Mansion, with like how you use the device to like suck up parts and stuff. Yeah, yep. I really dig this.
It's super satisfying too, like the way that the animation works and the way you kind of help put things back together. And you know, there's a little bit later on in the demo, you get to kind of like learn how to kind of, you know, use all of that to then, you know, resurrect and kind of build things as opposed to just breaking them down. And it's super dope. Like I wanted to play more of it and spend some more time with it, but I kind of ran out of time on my demo. But it was a lot of fun. Like the characters, again, like the way that they've designed them has been really fun. But my game of PAX, the game that I was the most excited for after getting a chance to play it, was a game called Umut, O-M-U-T. And it's playing on all of these kinds of folklore and Scandinavian vibes. And it's a horror game, and it's one of the dopest games I've played in a long time. So imagine if you were going to play a side-scrolling pixel art version of Elden Ring mixed with the Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
So like it's like atmospheric and wild. Like I want to play the audio on this, but I'm not going to because it's a weird way to kind of just throw the audio in. But like this game is dope. Like this game is freaky in the way that they play into the art style and the way that you're kind of messing around with it. Like it feels like the beginning of an A24 horror movie, with all of the kind of weird grain in film grain and all this other kind of stuff that they're playing into. And you're like this one little dude who's caught up in the woods, and you're like hearing all these voices, and the voices are talking to you and telling you what to do while you're going through the process of like traversing the world. It was the most interesting thing that I played at PAX. I'm sad I didn't get to play Jamboree because I just didn't get an appointment with Nintendo. But like the game that really, really had me wanting to play more of it as soon as I got home was this game called Umut. And it has stayed with me. I am fiending to play more of it. I had to play on a mouse and keyboard, which was already a disadvantage to me because I'm not good on mouse and keyboard. But when I was getting the invite to go to this, everybody was like, "Hey, Ka, do you like hard games? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. I love hard games. They said, this is the hardest game at PAX this year. And you will not beat the boss in this game. Only 2 people out of all the people who went to see the presentation beat the boss. And I went in there trying to be like, yo, I'm going to be the third person to beat that boss. You know how many times I beat that boss? 0. I didn't beat that boss not once. I got close to beating the boss, but I totally did not beat the boss in this game. And it was very, very good. It is super freaky and super weird. And the bosses are hard. And they're hard in the best ways. And it's super dope because, like, so here's a boss right here. And you're basically having to kind of bounce and shoot it out of the way. But here's the thing. You have limited ammo. You basically have like 3 shots. And your dodge equals one of your shots. So you're trying to dodge and basically manage your ammo and your movement at the same time while trying to beat these really hard bosses. It was one of the coolest and most fun things I got a chance to play at
This
PAX.
looks dope. This looks so fucking dope. I'm glad. I'm so happy I saw this because this is like I love indie games. I just don't have time to play many of them, but this is one where I'm just like, oh man, I really need to check this out when it comes out.
It is very good. It is very, very good. I was like so hyped at here's another boss here. It's like this dude just chilling in the woods. He's running at you and you're like having to dodge through his body while also dodging. He has this like animated like wave that he does at you. And it is scary because this thing runs at you super fast and you're like, oh, do I have enough bullets? Do I have enough stuff? Like, do I have enough space? And you just forget because you freak out at the prospect of like what you're trying to do in the middle of a game while also managing all those things at the same time. So it is once I get hands on this thing is going to be dangerous for me. It is going to be something that I'm going to be playing. And the fact that you load back into the game really quickly is dope because then you're just like, you know, you have a strategy in your mind and you're like, I can execute. And if you don't, you know, you have to then figure that out. So like the dash is one thing that you have to manage. Your parry also is a shot. So if you're parrying a thing, that's also basically one of your bullets. It's going to be a lot of fun to play that game in those ways. So I'm very excited for that.
I just wishlisted on Steam. I'm like, I got because I just don't. That looks like a game that I don't think will get like a lot of buzz, but it's a game that I really want to play. So like, I'm like, I gotta wishlist that. I gotta remember that game exists because that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. It was my game of PAX. Like it was the favorite thing that I saw during the show.
Well, I hope it's at East next year because I'm gonna be like, yo, I need to get my hands on this.
I'll get you connected to the people that you need to get that game in your list. But like, that thing is dope. Like I think that game is going to be fire, and I think that's going to be one of the in the indie space. Horror games are very difficult to kind of share because it feels like you have to hit a very certain bar of quality for that thing. I think Strange Scaffold with Xalavier Nelson and the games that he puts out into the world, like some of them have this kind of horror-esque feel to it, but they're really high quality and high polish. Games like these that come out of nowhere definitely need your attention in a lot of different ways in some stuff. Also, before we go, I've been playing through Plucky Squire, which has been extremely fun. That game is very, very cool. We'll have more conversations around that in a few. Towerborn's open beta, not open beta, but like their early access is happening right now. And that game, you know, you got a chance to see some of that from the coverage at PAX as well. That game is, from Gamescom that we did at Xbox in LA. That game is a banger. You need to go get into early access if you can for that because it's really, really good. Cam, we got to do some co-op on that at some point soon.
I'll do it because you asked. I normally refrain from playing early access games, but I'll do it because you asked. Because like That team made the Banner Saga games,
Yes.
and those are like super underrated in my opinion.
Yes.
Indie games, super well written. If you want to play a choose your own adventure type game, where like it goes across all three, kind of like Mass Effect goes across all three games, and it's like it's challenging too. Like those games are so good, and they're so cheap to get nowadays too.
I need to go back because I've played through like bits and pieces of Banner Saga, but like never really spent the time to like actually like mainline them and go through it. I'm gonna buy those tonight and buy them on console and play. Excuse me, start playing through some of those for sure.
I've only played part of the first game actually, but that is like a series that I really want to play all the way through. Again, just too many games, but I have a physical copy on Xbox, so I got my bases covered, and I'm looking forward to playing those.
Yeah, we're gonna have the folks from Stoic on the show next week. Actually, we're gonna be talking to them.
Oh, dope!
Yeah, so we're setting up the interview for that to hopefully be either next week to be shared next week or the week afterward. I think probably closer to when Towerborn's launch is. And Death Sprint 66. Playing through a little bit of that. So bad.
You need to give me a code for that one.
I got you.
You're gonna get me up because
I'll get you. I
saw at Gamescom and I was like, "This looks incredible."
Death Sprint was my game of Summer Games Fest in a lot of different ways. So
that was at Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, that was at Summer Games Fest.
I had no idea. Oh
really? Yeah, it was an unknown at that point. Like at that point, I didn't know what it was, but then getting a chance to play, I was like, "Oh, this is my jam." We'll get you hooked up on codes for that.
Yeah, please do.
And then, what's the last thing that I'm playing right now that I can talk about? Like most of the stuff I can't really talk about, but yeah, those are like the main hitters for now. In those ways, there's a couple of games that are also going to be coming out soon that I really want to check out. That new Rugrats game looks real dope. Shout out to our friends over at Interbang. We have an interview. Yar's Revenge came out, so
Rising.
Go check. I'm sorry, Yar's Rising. Sorry, Yar's Rising. Thank you. Came out, so go check that out. We have a booth tour from PAX with all the team there that we're going to be putting out this week. And we had a really dope interview with Justin Woodward, who runs the Mix at PAX, talking about their game. Silent Bob and Jay's Chronic Blunt Punch.
Jay and Silent Bob.
Jay and Silent Bob's Chronic Blunt Punch. Thank you for correcting me because my brain shut off. So that game is really fun, and they've been working on that for a very long time. So excited for that to be out in the world as well. So we'll be getting a lot of stuff out into the space to be able for you to share and check it out and all of those things. But that is it for this episode of Spawn on Me. Cam, as always, thank you so much for helping me co-pilot this bad boy on our partner anniversary here on Twitch. Thank you so much for being here, fam.
Glad to be here. You can follow me at Cam Final Mix on Twitter. Hire me. I'm unemployed.
Hire that man. He is looking for work. Go help him out. And everybody here who came through on Twitch, on X, and on YouTube, shout out to everyone who rolled in tonight. And let's see the number to the over 1,025 people who are watching it on Twitch. I'm sorry, watching it on X right now on Twitter. Shout out to all of you for hanging out and coming through, and everyone who here shared a wonderful sentiment about the show. All the dope folks watching us on Twitch and YouTube, people giving us super chats and all that goodness for September. Again, please remember to subscribe to the show. Go check out our work on TikTok. Go check out our work on Twitch. Go check out the goodness there. Also, if you are working in the video game industry and you're looking to sponsor the best award show on the planet, we have that called the Spawnies. We're looking to sponsor that show and get some folks into the funnel with us and working with us to make sure that we have an amazing show in Black History Month in February of 2025. So please reach out, connect with us, and we will find a dope way to get you and your brand into our show. And if you are a developer or a publisher, we want to get your games in the show as well. So please make sure you're coming through and hitting me up on X or on LinkedIn and poke at me, and we can find some greatness to make together. So until next week, we have a lot of games to play and a lot of good stuff to get into. Go hire that man. He's one of the best people on the planet. Much love to you all. We'll see you all soon next week. Until then, wash your hands, wash your butt. And also, check us out on MSN's front page. Ha ha! Secrets. Ha ha! Because if you want to watch some more content, you can go check it out on MSN.com. Ha ha! I'll leave you all with some goodness on the way out. Much love to you all.
Okay.
Peace.
Okay.
We'll see you all later. Thanks for watching. See you all soon. Bye, y'all. All right. Let me stop the recording. I'm going to pull you back on stage, Cam, real quick.
Okay.
Hey, man. Thank you so much for being here. It's always good to have you. The chat was loving you. Everybody was saying what's up. Giving you some love. Any other last things you wanted to share before we get up out of here for the show?
Not really. I got a barking dog upstairs because I'm in a new place. So I like joined in on them, so I kind of have to abide by their rules, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So with this room is huge. It's like basically like a bottom floor garage type shit.
Nice.
And so and there's like 2 other computer setups over here, and so like they don't really want Asher here. And when she's by herself, she's just they've been kind enough to deal with all of that. So I need to get back to her, because if not, she's gonna drive them crazy.
No doubt. Well, I love you, fam. Thank you so much for being here. We'll have you on more episodes upcoming. We'll get you into some more of that stuff. We'll get you some dope stuff. And again, if you're in the space and you're watching this live show, go find this man. Go hire him. He's a dope human being. So make sure you can hook him up with a good job. All right, everybody, we're getting up out of here. Much love to you all. Have a wonderful night. Go enjoy some football, some wrestling, all the goodness in your life. And please be good to each other. And don't let the grifters grift. We'll see y'all soon. Much love. Peace.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Good night. Jesus. Peace, Cam. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bro. Peace.